Welcome to NFL World, the NFL starts and ends. I'm your host, Jacob, and I hope you guys had a wonderful Thanksgiving, full of family, faith, and football. There was a lot of things happening over the past week, so let's get into it. First off, the Broncos have waived running back Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon is a veteran running back, and yes, he had a fumble issue this year. I'm just trying to understand it. You're saying, in a way, the reason of the Broncos' offense's shortcomings is because of Melvin Gordon? How can it be because of Melvin Gordon? Because you look at Russell Wilson's stats, pass completions, passing yards, everything, touchdowns. I saw this yesterday. Russell Wilson has less passing touchdowns than Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz has not played since week 6. How does this make sense? It doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't at all. It's not because of the run game, even though that run game is fairly non-existent for the most part. It's their pass game. And there's been a joke going around the whole year about this Broncos team. If the Broncos had scored 19 points a game, they'd be 9-1. The only game they would have lost would have been the first one against Seattle. That's the only one. Every other game, they would have won. Except the game against Carolina, because that would have been tied. But that's the only difference. They would have been 9-1, or 9-1-1. They would be leading the division, because their defense is really talented. Can they continue that? I don't know. Their defense is not the issue. It's their offense. They don't move the ball well. For whatever reason, Russell does not look the same. And I have a theory about this. Russell Wilson, it's not because he's not a good quarterback. It's not because he's declining as a quarterback. I think it's because when Russell Wilson was in Seattle and they ran the ball effectively when they had to, Wilson was allowed to use his abilities. His ability of escape the pocket, extend plays, perform well under pressure. Those things, especially they didn't have a good offensive line. But to do those things, they had success in doing that. When they started to lose is when they could not protect him and he was having to run for his life. When he went to Denver, I was like, okay. They got a good wide receiving core so he doesn't have to do it as much. And if they have to, they're all on the same page. They have a good running back tandem, and they have a good offensive line. And their defense is really good. How can this be bad? Defense is really good. Quarterback and wide receivers don't look like they're on the same page. You lost one of your running backs early in the season due to injury. You now get rid of another guy who was on that tandem. It doesn't make sense. And on top of that, you got offensive linemen that are getting injured. That you can't. That just happens. There's not much you can do about that. But if I'm the Broncos, you can't get out of the. You just paid Russell Wilson. You can't get out of the contract immediately. It doesn't work that way. The West Coast offense does not fit Russell Wilson. Just doesn't fit it. It doesn't fit. And maybe, just maybe, you should go to Nathaniel Hackett and say, man, this West Coast offense, it just doesn't work for him. It doesn't benefit him. It doesn't use his strengths and limit his weaknesses. It doesn't do anything like that. And maybe that's what they should work on in the coming year. The Commanders have activated Chase Young. off the IR and out of his window period, because you have a 21-day window to be activated to the team. Now, he did not play against Atlanta. He fell ill, and so he did not play. The expectation is he'll be back hopefully next week. The Falcons placed Kyle Pitts on IR with a torn MCL. Depending on the exact where it got hurt, the injury, does he need surgery, does he not need surgery, we'll see. But not having him out there is a massive loss. Even though they don't throw the ball to Pitts in open space, they should do that. He's not just a red zone threat. Throw it to him consistently. You can do it. That's what they should be doing. Cordell Patterson made NFL history this past week. I should say in week 11. He became the all-time leader in kick returns for touchdowns with 9. He has surpassed Devin Hester, who's hopefully going in the Hall of Fame. He should be in the Hall of Fame. Cordell Patterson eventually will be there. The Texans have benched Davis Mills before week 12. That benching made a lot of sense at the time. As we'll say in another video of who was replacing him in this game. And finally, the Rams had to... Stafford was out with an injury. He had a concussion. So he didn't play. It was not pleasant between the Rams and the Kansas City Chiefs. Not just because Stafford didn't play, but because of how the surroundings took over.